Okay, we're beginning our program in less than 5 minutes, so if there's anyone outside in the lobby, please come inside and take your seats. Excuse me? Oh, yes. I believe it started meeting and leaving on time.
Good. So how long is each section? How long is each group? About 45 minutes?
There'll be a 5-minute interlude between offices, between seats.
You're welcome. Oh, you don't need one.
No, I'm fine. I got one down there.
All right, we're good. Anita will probably be joining you up here, so you will hand her the mic after your intro so that she can do the invitation. I think so, since he can't.
All right, it's 7 o'clock, and we are going to begin our program. Thank you, everyone, for attending this program. My name is Ken Raymond. I'm chairman of the Forsyth County Republican Party. And thank you all for coming and attending this very important forum. Before we go any further, I would like to take a moment to thank our host, the host of this event, Agape Faith Church, which is allowing us to use facilities. So I'd like to extend thanks from the Forsyth County Republican Party to Pastor Whitfield and the leadership to Candy, who also works with the Forsyth County GOP, in allowing us to use this facility for a very, very important program. Thank you. Thank you, Agape Faith. Some of you know that this is my home church. And I've been a member here for about 15 years more or less. And my wife's been a member for, I think, 4 or 5. And I'd just like to take a minute, just a minute, to treat all of you, everyone seated in here, as if you were actual members and visitors of Agape Faith. So there's something that we do on Sundays when we attend, and we have a confession, a prayer, if you will. So please repeat after me. This is something that we do every Sunday morning. Agape Faith Church, overflowing with love, strengthening the family, bettering the community, affecting the world, where every member is a minister. That is a saying that we lead our congregation in saying, our new members in saying, and we firmly believe in it. We firmly believe in bettering the community. And this evening, Agape Faith is partnering with Forsyth County GOP in bettering the community to bring these candidates to all of you and to everyone watching to learn the issues. So as we begin, we're going to open with our Pledge of Allegiance and our prayer from the president of the Women's Club, Anita Moody.
Thank you very much. I'd like to share a prayer written by Sharon Stuthard with the National Federation of Republican Women. She's their Faith Coalition chair. So if you would please stand, and so we can give thanks to our Lord. Today, Father, we ask for mercy and grace for our nation. Quicken our nation to repent and return to you. Help all our leaders to seek your wisdom and your way without reserve. We ask that you let your glory fall on our nation. Fill your servants with faith, hope, and love. Call us to prayer as a nation and hear our prayers. Restore our nation to your original intent, one nation under God. Father, we pray that you would grant America a renewed beginning as we humble ourselves and acknowledge you alone as our Savior and Lord. This we pray in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. And now if we will face the flag and give a salute to our national flag. I pledge allegiance
Thank you, Anita. Okay, we're about to begin our program, and as advertised, we will be speaking with candidates for offices not really known very well to the voters. So we think it is important that everybody takes the time to learn what they do and learn about these offices when they cast their votes. These individuals, candidates running for office, are State Auditor, Commissioner of Labor, and Commissioner of Insurance candidates. So all of this is for voters to learn what these candidates are and the difference between, learn about the offices and learn about the differences between the candidates. And before I go any further, I need to mention that John Hardister, who's running for Commissioner of Labor, he couldn't be with us tonight. He sends his regrets, but something had unexpectedly came up. But he could not attend this forum, and he sends his regrets to everyone, and we acknowledge that he was unable to attend, so we will continue. So at this time, We will begin, I think, with the candidates for state auditor. And our moderator tonight will be Kristen McMasters. Kristen will be offering questions to the candidates, and there will be a 5-minute break between questions between the candidates for the various offices. Kristen?
Thank you, Ken. Okay. Hi, how are y'all? Excited? Let me make sure I get the right questions up. So we're going to do this, I think, as quickly as we can. We're going to sort of move rapidly between each person. I believe we're going to do 90 seconds so you guys can introduce yourself. There's also a kind of a special way we need to do this where once I start the actual questions, we'll start with you here on the end and we'll move down. And then the next question will start here and we'll move around. Does that make sense? Okay. Once the questions actually start, we'll have 1 minute. When the minute ends, I'm going to be like, all right, thank you very much. We'll move to the next. Hopefully you'll have wrapped it up. If not, we might have to be a little more intense in keeping the time. Okay, so let's see. Do we have this as auditor, right? Okay, I want to make sure. So if you guys want to go ahead and start, introduce yourselves. We'll have 90 seconds, and then we'll start with the questions.
Can you hear me now? Good evening, how are you? I'm blessed beyond what I deserve because every morning I wake up here in the greatest state and the greatest nation on earth. I'm Anthony Street. I'm a fiscal, moral, social conservative. I have a master's degree in public administration. While pursuing that, I studied business, economics, budgeting, and finance. Served for 10 years on Brunswick County Soil and Water Board. Small business owner. And above all else, I strive to put my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, first in everything that I do. My reason for seeking this office is because I want to go to Raleigh and declare war on wasteful spending. Fight for accountability and transparency. You, the hard-working taxpayers of the great state of North Carolina, deserve to know how and where your tax dollars are being spent. You deserve to know that every penny is being spent as effectively, efficiently, and conservatively as is possible. You need to know what you can be proud of and what you can call up your elected representatives and complain about. Mr. Dale Falwell set an excellent example on how to run around the state and communicate with small groups everywhere, and I intend to follow his example as auditor. I understand he has been treasurer. But I want to educate you on where your tax dollars are being spent because you deserve to know. Anthony Street, I'll be worth a lot more when I get to heaven because up there streets are made out of pure gold. Thank you. I love you. God bless you. Vote like a pirate. Arr.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jack Clark. I am a lifelong Republican. I have a master's in accounting, a CPA, and spent my career as an auditor. I'm the only candidate up here with those three qualifications. To be state auditor, it's really important to know how to audit, and you don't get that experience in things like business or law or even consulting. I have the highest integrity that you need for accounting, first and foremost, because of my faith in God. But secondly, based on my auditing career, integrity manifests differently in auditing than in other sectors. I'm not passionate about campaigning. I'm an introvert. I'm an accountant. It goes without saying. But I am passionate about serving. And I want to serve the people of this state by helping their tax money be used better. And how am I going to do that? Everywhere that I audit, I am going to make sure that I leave them better off than when they started. The auditor can help people set up processes and procedures to help prevent wasteful spending in the future. Because what's better than catching fraud is preventing fraud. As the youngest candidate up here, I want to be the most forward-looking and prevent fraud as much as possible. So my name is Jack Clark. Looking forward to answering all the questions, and I would appreciate your vote on March 5th. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
By a show of hands, who here thinks election integrity is important? So I guess found the right group of people. Well, I hate to break it to you all, but right now in North Carolina, there's nearly 180,000 people that are registered to vote that do not have a driver's license number or a social security number. That is because the State Board of Elections has not been audited in more than a decade. Well, my name is Charles Dingy. I'm running to be your next state auditor. And I'm going to use this office as the tool it was meant to be, to find out what is going on at the Board of Elections to ensure that we have free and fair elections here in North Carolina. Now, I'm a lifelong Republican, a lifelong grassroots Republican, and I appreciate every one of you coming out here to learn about the candidates for state auditor. I'm the former vice chairman of the Wake County Republican Party. I'm the former chairman for the 13th Congressional District, and in 2022, I was awarded Young Republican Man of the Year by my peers at the Federation of Young Republicans for beating Democrats up and down the ballot. With your help, I'm going to do the exact same thing as your state auditor. I've got a professional background in banking, and I'm a small business owner, which makes me uniquely qualified to lead this office. That is what the state auditor does. You can learn more about me on my website at charlesdingy.com. I'll leave you with this. I'm Charles Dingy, and I'll be stingy with your money.
Thank you, Charles.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. My name is Jim Key. I am a candidate for North Carolina State Auditor. I am the only candidate that has federal auditing experience. I was a federal auditor with the U.S. Treasury Department, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. The Comptroller's Office regulates national banks throughout the United States. As your state auditor, I have 3 goals. First, I'm going to ensure the financial and operational integrity of all of the state and local government agencies throughout North Carolina to ensure their compliance with North Carolina law and regulations. Second, I'm going to offer technical assistance to every agency that wants to improve their financial management. And third, I'm going to hold those agencies accountable to the highest degree of the law, the ones that break the law, that willfully break the law. Or in the words of 45, we're going to drain the swamp. I am a former city councilman, 2-term city councilman from Greensboro. And as a city councilman, I brought in over $1 billion worth of revenue to my district over a 4-year period. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is that me and 4 other Republicans are the only elected officials in the history of Guilford County that's ever lowered the tax rate and the water bill. I am running to be your state auditor to regulate your tax dollars. My name is Jim Key. I am the key to accountability in North Carolina. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Hello. Hello.
Use mine?
Ah, here it goes. Hey, good evening. My name's Dave Bolick, and I am a candidate for state auditor. I'll start by saying, particularly since we're here in a church, I do count Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I developed a personal relationship with him 18 years ago. Grew up a Christian, but had that personal relationship then. I am an attorney by trade. I got my law degree and an MBA degree from Campbell University. I've worked as a prosecutor, prosecuting everything from seatbelt tickets to murder cases. Most recently, leadership in the North Carolina legislature asked if I would be willing to go to work at the University of North Carolina to bring that university back to the center and more normal. So I took on that challenge. In that process, I've dealt with multi-billion-dollar budgets, and in the process, found a $100 million shortfall. Also developed what's called the School of Civic Life and Leadership, which is an opportunity for conservative professors and conservative students to have a home on our university. And why do I want to be auditor? Because I think these Council of State jobs require courage. And I demonstrated that courage by standing up to the woke liberals and the limousine liberals and said no to Nicole Hannah-Jones and the 1619 Project. I looked them right in the eye and said no. That's the type of leadership I want to take to your state auditor's office in Raleigh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
About 4 weeks before my dad's 50th birthday, he drowned in a boating accident. I was 26 years old at the time. My dad instilled in myself and my siblings the purpose and reason to do service, both community and public. My dad was on the town board at the time, running for mayor. Since then, I was elected 3 times as mayor of Cornelius. I'm a 3-term state senator. I chair a number of boards, hospital boards. I'm the current chair of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the foundation board. I serve on a health clinic board. I am the cybersecurity statewide chairman that has all the CISOs. I have an IT background. Also, I spent most of my career, I was a partner at EY, Ernst & Young. It's the 3rd largest global accounting firm in the world. This is what I've done my entire career, is the responsibilities that the state auditor has. I chaired the State and Oversight Committee in the Senate and had oversight working with the state auditor's office. So I know the workings really well. I know running businesses real well. I've started my own firm and grew it from ground zero to a multi-million-dollar national consulting practice before we sold it. So these are things I do every day. The other thing that's different are the relationships. It's about communicating and relationships. A lot of people don't understand the state auditor's office is nearly 200 professionals. It has responsibility for a $16 million operating budget. This is not the place to go learn how to run your first business. On top of that, because of my background and work, I know day one, when we go in the door, where there's $150 million to start recovering. One of the things that I'll do that will be different is I'll stand up a data detection and prevention center that will use technology, AI engineers.
Thank you, Jeff. We're at time. Sorry.
No, that's all right. To help relieve the fraud and waste that's going on that we know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. It's great to hear everybody and all the different experiences y'all have. So we're gonna start, let's see, Tony, we're gonna start with you, okay? So we'll have a minute and then we'll just sort of go down the line. The first question is, what's your vision for the office?
Thank you all for being here this evening. My vision for the NC Auditor's office is to have an open door policy where your phone calls are answered, your messages receive prompt service. The door is always open for you to come in and express your concerns. That office is to serve you, the taxpayer. It is to serve as a watchdog to make sure that your tax dollars are not being wasted, that they are being spent as allocated by the budgets of the state, county, municipality boards that are spending those dollars. Your money needs to be spent so that it serves you as effectively, efficiently, and conservatively as is possible, and in no fashion or form in any way that goes against the state constitution or that of the United States of America. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Awesome. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, a couple pieces. As the former senator can attest, Beth Wood did a really good job auditing what she had. She had a really strong team, so I don't intend on blowing that up, but she was there for 15 years, and she had to have developed blind spots, developed things that just kind of she looked over, and so I'm going in as a fresh face with an objective, independent mindset in order to see anything she missed. I want to continue her good work in auditing, but I want to see where has been missed. And I also mentioned earlier, the vision is to leave everywhere I audit better off than it was before. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Very cool.
My goal is to make the office to be a thorn in the side to every level of government, plain and simple. It is your money, you need to know where it's going. So on day one, every person that's there is gonna interview with me for their job. A lot of them have been there for a long time, and it's time for new leadership to change it up. I wanna change up the structure of the office to ensure we know what is happening day in and day out at every level of government, starting with going through the backlog. There are thousands of agencies and entities that have not been audited in more than a decade, okay? There are thousands of groups that do not have the proper stress testing in place to prevent fraud and waste from happening. In Durham County and Mecklenburg County Public Schools recently, they screwed up payroll to the fact that in Durham, they went ahead and they're gonna give another $4.5 million of taxpayer money to fix the problem. And in Mecklenburg, they're telling frontline teachers they have to return the money. As your state auditor, I'll stress test, make sure this stuff doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Well, the first thing I want to do is bring back Tim Hogemeyer. Tim was general counsel for the state auditor's office, and he has a ton of experience. And we need good Republicans with experience in the auditor's office. And as I stated earlier, I'm going to regulate every agency in North Carolina to see where your tax dollars are going. Department of Transportation, they have millions and millions of dollars of cost overruns. We need to know where your tax dollars are going. So basically, do the things that auditors do is regulate all the different agencies, submit the reports, and communicate with the Attorney General's office or those that are breaking the law. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
So first things first, I expect there to be a Republican governor, so I'm going to work with the Republican governor to clean up the Cooper-Stein mess. That's going to be job number one. Job number two is going to be to work on a strategic plan, to take a look at, and to Charles's credit, you're exactly right. There are agencies across the state of North Carolina that have not been audited in decades, to include the Board of Elections, to include the Department of Transportation, to include DHHS. That's first on the list. Next on the list, looking at the public schools across the state of North Carolina, they get millions of dollars in taxpayer money, and we're not performing up to where we should be. And finally, we're going to use this office to help set policy across the state of North Carolina, looking at more than just the finances. We're going to take a look at processes and procedures, and we're going to make this state work for all the people of North Carolina. That's what I'll do as your state auditor.
Thank you, Dave. Awesome.
Thank you. Well, first, it's important to understand the rules and what the state auditor's office actually does. It has responsibility for auditing all the state agencies, over 40. It has responsibility for auditing all 16 universities in the School of Science and Math, all 58 community colleges. That's required by law. There's not a choice. The universities happen on a 3-year rotation. After that, then it's establishing a rubric, a prioritization of what things we will investigate. And there's different types of audits to do that work, and that's where we get into the fraud and waste aspect of things. That's where I will introduce technology to be able to do that. We know, as an example, during COVID, we had 131 online classes created by contractors. None of them met standard. They still got paid. We know 18 of the 26 Medicaid providers in the state were still providing Medicaid funds and receiving monies, totally fraudulent because they didn't have their license any longer. Those are the things that we're aware of, know of, and will continue to bring to you. Doing the responsibilities that are defined by statute to do, and then find the waste that exists in the state. And it's in literally every department.
Thank you, Jeff. Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next question, and we're gonna start over here with Jack. So the question is, what do you, and some of you have already answered this, but we can hear it again, what do you bring to the table in terms of experience to make you the most effective person for this job?
Like I said, the CPA makes me really stand out, and here's why. I had to have an education requirement specifically on the audit track in my accounting master. CPA has 4 exams, one of them is audit, and I got 98 on that audit exam. That was my highest exam. And then I spent my whole career as an auditor. And I'll give you a brief history lesson. In the 80s and 90s, the accounting firms were making money hand over fist with their consulting firms, and so they would use their audit arms just to kind of get in with their lucrative consulting business. That led to accounting scandals not caught, Enron, HealthSouth, and led to there being a real big separation between consulting and auditing. So when I say I have audited, and I have audited recently in the 21st century, it's such a niche role that no one else here has that. So I think that's really what I bring to the table, 21st century audit experience. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Jack. Go ahead, Charles.
First off is my viewpoint of what this office should do. And plain and simple, I'm not going there to make friends, as you all could probably tell. I'm going there to fight for you day in and day out. Now, my background in banking makes me uniquely qualified for this, to be able to look at, just as I was mentioning before, some of the stress testing that is not happening across the state. Those are the types of implementations and strategies that we need to take from the private sector and bring them and implement them into the public sector. As somebody who has actually managed large organizations, including the largest volunteer organization in the state, Wake County Republican Party, I've had success in doing that. To give you an example, in 2022, we had 62% Republican turnout in Wake County. In Mecklenburg, they had 43%. The reason why is because I was able to implement a strategy to get 1,800 volunteers to walk, talk, and do what I needed them to do. If I can get that many people who are volunteers to do what I need them to do, just imagine what I can do with 160-something people that are taking a paycheck.
Thank you, Charles. Go ahead, Jim.
Auditing is a very specific profession. You need a forensic eye in order to be an auditor. CPAs usually cause the problems. Auditors usually discover and fix the problems. But I'm going to take Jack with me to the office if I'm fortunate enough to win. I was a federal auditor with the U.S. Treasury Department, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. I have regulated banks or audited banks in North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia. And I will do the same in the state of North Carolina. I will audit every agency that has not been audited, even those that have been audited. There's a schedule that you follow when you're auditing, and I'll follow that schedule, and those agencies that have not been audited will be at the top of the list. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
So I've been a lawyer, and I've got an MBA, and I've been a prosecutor. But let me tell you a little bit of a story that I sort of mentioned in my intro, and it's my service at the university level. On my first day as a trustee during orientation, I was told that the university was running 16 separate budgets to handle more than $4 billion. I had to shake my head and ask twice whether that was in fact true. I decided at that point that I would make it my mission to consolidate that budget, and I did. In less than 2 years, we consolidated that budget. In less than 13 months, we not only found a $100 million budget annual shortfall, but we are now in a slight surplus. I want to take that type of strong leadership to the state auditor's office to solve problems for you, the taxpayers of North Carolina. That's an example of what I will do. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Go for it, Jack.
As a partner at E&Y, I had clients in all 50 states and 5 foreign countries. There's more than just financial auditing, which is important we do as well. So you do financial auditing, you do operational audits, you do performance audits, you do risk management audits, you do IT audits. It's the ability to understand the whole breadth of service work that you have to do in order to be successful. When I was in the Senate, the last bill I ran before I left was requiring that the largest departments like DOT, DHHS had to go through an independent financial audit. They've been going through something called annual comprehensive financial reports. They're different. We need to do the detail work. With DHHS, just to leave you with one specific, when we went through the details, because they hadn't been detailed audited in 20 years, like the gentleman have mentioned up here, they could not account for $1 billion over that 20-year period. Had no clue where it was and how we were going to get it. The one thing that I'm going to request when we get into Raleigh and into this role, the auditor's office only has investigative power, but it needs to have a demand letter capability so it can actually go harvest those monies and bring them back to you guys, the taxpayers. Thanks Sorry
Jeff.
for running over.
All right. So we got Tony.
What makes me the most qualified? I served for 10 years on Brunswick County Soil and Water Board. I have experience in local government. I have experience in drafting budgets and having to stick to them. I've been an employer. I've been an employee. I've signed both sides of a check. I know what it's like to build small businesses. I know how hard it is to earn an honest dollar. I'm one of you. So I know how you feel when you see your tax dollars being wasted. When you call me, when you talk to me, I'll be able to understand where you're coming from. I'll be able to relate to you. And that'll drive me to serve you and want to help you. I'm not an establishment man. I'm just a small business owner that is running out of a desire to see that things are done right in the state of North Carolina. And if you elect me, I'll spend every second working for you, serving with you, for you, with you at heart.
Thanks,
Thank
Tony. Awesome. Okay, Charles, so you're going to start this question. So why do you feel that it's important for a Republican to hold this office, and what are some principles of the party that you feel are particularly relevant to the office you're seeking?
So this position has been held by a Republican only one time in 146 years. That was Les Merritt. He was the auditor before Beth Wood. So yeah, that's the first reason. We need to have a Republican in here. In terms of the principles that would align with this office, first and foremost is being conservative. It's our money. We need to conserve where it's going and make sure it's not being wasted. Transparency. Plain and simple, right now, you all today in your home budgets know where your money is going better than you do at any government agency out there. You should be able to, at the click of a mouse, find penny by penny exactly where every level of your money is going at every state agency, and you can't. But as a state auditor, I can do a lot to make that a reality. Those are the types of principles and functions that, as part of Republicans, that we believe in, and holding people accountable, having transparency, and being conservative are going to be part of the auditor's office when I'm your state auditor.
Awesome. Thank you, Charles.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. It's so, why do you feel that it's important for a Republican to hold this office, and what are some principles of the party that you feel are particularly relevant to the office you're seeking?
Okay, I feel that a Republican needs to hold this office because I am a Republican. I'm a fiscal conservative. Republicans are fiscal conservatives. Democrats are more tax and spend. We need someone that's going to regulate your money in the office of the auditor. And actually, the auditor's office was established in 1862 by the General Assembly. That's 162 years ago. And Charles is right. We only had one Republican to hold this office, and that's a travesty. So we need, candidate equality is very important. So we need to have good Republicans in this office to watch over your money. And so that's why I'm running for state auditor.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim.
So I think it's a pretty simple answer, and that is conservatism. We need conservative in the office. We need someone that is willing to stand up and hold people accountable, even in their own party. And that's what Republicans do. They hold themselves accountable. And we need transparency. Transparency in the sense that every taxpayer should be able to find out where your money is being spent. But really, what does a Republican bring to it? A Republican brings confidence. Confidence that fiscal conservatism will be applied in the office of the state auditor. And the people of North Carolina have confidence in the Republican Party to keep things monetarily and fiscally straight.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, I'll be the odd answer here and tell you it absolutely makes no difference which party's holding this office, and it shouldn't. But, and the reason being, because we're dealing with dollars. We're not dealing with ideological issues on both sides. But I tell you why it makes a difference. I'm a lifetime member of the RNC. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA. I have 2 terms from the ACU of 100% conservative voting record. It makes a difference on how you spend money and waste money. We spend it like drunken sailors on the other side of the aisle. They're unaccountable for when they do it. I'll give you one example and then I'll sit down. NCDOT a year and a half ago passed pay raises of over $40 million in the department and pushed it through and basically thumbed their nose at the state auditor's office and the legislature. That stuff comes to an end.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, Tony. Do you want me to reread the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it's, why do you feel that it's important for a Republican to hold this office, and what are some principles of the party that you feel are particularly relevant to the office you're seeking?
Well, it's already been stated. Republicans are just about entirely all the time more conservative than the other side. As the Democrat Party continues to go more extreme, they are pushing the moderates further to the right. So the mainstream North Carolinian is becoming more and more Republican. Even independents tend to vote Republican. So I believe electing a Republican to this office will greatly increase the chances that the person serving there will be serving the interests, though the things that appeal to the average North Carolinian. I believe that's important. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
I'm going to give you 2 reasons why it should, one why it shouldn't. First, the General Assembly is going to be Republican, and the auditor works a lot with the General Assembly. I currently work for a budget chair. I've developed relationships with a lot of the budget chairs, so I have that relationship for the auditor's office. Second, the current auditor was appointed by Cooper, and she has no accounting or audit background. The reason the auditor is elected is because the auditor is accountable to the people. And the auditor that was appointed and was given the incumbency bias there just isn't going to do a good job. And it's also calling into question her independence. And this is a reason why it doesn't matter, and I kind of agree, is the auditor has to be independent. The auditor can't have their own personal biases. He can't have specific things that he preconceived notions about what he's going to find. The auditor's job is to find the objective truth. It's very much like a judge, and that's what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next question, and I'm going to start here with Jim. So it's, what are your goals for the audit department?
Okay, again, I have 3 goals. First, I'm going to ensure the financial and operational integrity and viability of every North Carolina state and local government agency. My second goal is that I'm going to assist them. If they want to improve their financial management, that's what an auditor does, assist them. And third, one of the most important roles is to hold agencies accountable, and that's exactly what we'll do. We'll hold them accountable to the highest extent of the law.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I have a couple of goals, but I do want to go back to the last question and just say, elect one of the folks on this stage, because the current auditor appointed by Roy Cooper is a train wreck, and there's no other way to say it. So one of these gentlemen or myself should be elected state auditor. That's why a Republican should hold that office. What do I want to do? What are the goals? The goals are accountability, ask tough questions, and let the people know exactly what's going on. If I stick to those 3 things, we'll be successful in the state auditor's office. We'll let you know what's happening with your money, and we're gonna do more than just money, though. We're gonna take a look at the efficiencies in state government. I sort of mentioned it. I'll give you one just to chew on. How about the DMV? I mean, come on, we can get licenses a lot quicker, right? Wouldn't take a whole lot of work for the state auditor's office to run in and tell Mr. Goodwin over at the DMV, take a look at that train wreck and get that fixed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the office is pretty straightforward because it's all about fiscal management, right? And so it's being proven, having the experience to build and run a professional staff to do this kind of work. It's the ability to be pragmatic in the work, because a lot of the work's predefined by statute what you're going to do, but there's discretionary where you're going to allocate resources. And the last thing is really to bring the office back into the 21st century. It's bringing in automation and technology that allows us to do things that you can't do. One example, we'll introduce neural networks that allow us to look at uncorrelated data and do parallel matching. So the ability to go in, people who are getting influence from funds, I can look at who's big donors, who's benefiting from those donations, what legislation's being passed, and then determine who's inappropriately benefiting from campaign donations. That can be done.
Thank you, Jeff.
Two key areas I intend to focus on if I am elected to serve you as your next state auditor. Education. Education comprises the largest percentage of money that allocated in our state budget. So why are so many of our children getting math and reading skills below proficiency? I'm not advocating taking money away from education, but I'm advocating improving how money is spent in education. And I don't believe it's the teacher's fault. I think it's that State Board of Elections in Raleigh. Another thing I intend to work on is election integrity. Only 4 Republicans lost state council races in 2020: Auditor, Governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General. I ran for Auditor that year. I'm told we all 4 won in the absentee, early, and election day voting, but we lost only because of the mail-in vote. I intend to prove that's true, and I intend to fight for election integrity because we deserve to know we're sending into office those that we duly elected. Thank you.
Thank you.
3 things for you. 2 of them I've already mentioned. One is leaving everywhere I audit better off than I found it. Second is figuring out what's been missing. I haven't committed to any specific area because I want to go in and do a real solid independent look. The third thing that I'm uniquely qualified to deal with is there's an accounting shortage. Kids aren't going into accounting and auditing. And I want to work with schools and youth and teachers to help show kids that you can do a lot of good in the accounting profession. It's flexible, it's great work, because, you know, in 20, 30 years, well, in 5 years, I think it's half of the CPAs in the country are retiring. If we don't do something to convince the youth to go into accounting and auditing, the audit department is not going to be able to find anyone to do the job. So that's one thing. As the youngest candidate, as someone who recently went through accounting school, I can work with these students to bring them in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so first and foremost, we need to clean house and bring the office up to date by using AI technology to assist with making our audits more efficient and faster so we can detect fraud and waste and stop it from happening in the future. I'm telling you what I'm doing because you all have already told me what you want to see happen. In crossing the state, people want election integrity. We need to find out what's happening at the State Board of Elections. People want to stop pornography in public schools. We're going to audit the Board of Elections and every county board of elections. We're going to go at every single county school district so we can stop pornography that's being peddled in elementary schools. I'm going to make this office so it's transparent by making the tips hotline public. So every quarter, I'm going to publish the tips that come in the office and the results of those tips. So you, the taxpayer, know what is going on. It's about making this office work for you, the people of North Carolina.
Thank you. Okay, so Dave, we're going to start with you. And the question is, what legacy do you want to leave after your time as auditor is up?
It's kind of a tough question. I kind of just want to do a good job. And I think given my experience, not only as a practicing attorney and as a prosecutor who's prosecuted cases, seen projects all the way to the end, who's had experience, and I have run small businesses as well, in addition to my law firm, and who's had the experience working to try to change a big organization like the university system in the state of North Carolina. That type of experience is what we need in an agency like the state auditor. Because I do have to disagree with Jack on one thing, and I'm sorry, Jack. I don't think Beth Wood did a good job. I really don't. I think she failed to audit all the agencies. She let Cooper and Stein get away with too much. It's time to clean it up. I look forward to working with a Republican governor to do that.
Thank you.
Legacy, an interesting thing. Obviously, the big legacy for most of us is our children. That's the legacy that we have, our church and our relationships with neighbors and friends. For this, recognition is always nice. I was the NC Public Leader of the Year for the state of North Carolina in 2018. I was National Employee of the Year 1 year within my national firm. I have a baseball field that was dedicated in my name and back home for the work that I've done over the years. I was one of the top CIOs, Chief Information Officer, named by CIO Magazine nationally, one of the top 100. So recognition's not a hard thing to do. But the legacy, the one thing I'd like to do for this office is do something that's never been done, and that's create a succession plan. We shouldn't be picking people out of a hat on an election to run for this kind of office. We need to groom the next leader that's got the professional credentials and the relationships and the communication skills and the technical skills to have the confidence of the voters, because this office only reports to you, that we're comfortable to say this is the right person and they're trained and ready to go.
Thank you. Okay, Tony.
My dad was a pastor and a Vietnam veteran. So he instilled in me a desire to serve our living, risen Savior, Jesus Christ, and to do whatever you can for your state, your country, your community. I want to be remembered as a man that the people of the taxpayers of North Carolina could trust. Tony Street wouldn't lie to you. That's what I want him to say. Whatever he found, he told you the truth about it. That's what I intend to do. Because to me, honesty, integrity, trustworthiness, those are the things that are desired above riches. The Bible says it's better to have a good name. And that's what I want to leave for future North Carolinians to remember me by, as I was a man who served diligently and I cared about you, the people of the great state of North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
David, sounds like your complaint was what she didn't audit. My compliment was what she did audit. She did well, so we're both right. I was talking to the judge, and he relayed a story about how a woman emailed him and said, hey, you tried a case I was on, you ruled against me, but I felt that you were very fair and impartial. I felt heard and respected, and I think you made the right call even though it didn't go my way. That's the type of auditor I want to be. The auditor, if everyone I audit says he listened to us, he took us fairly, that's really what my legacy is. Because the auditor isn't going to rule in the way you want every time. It's just not going to happen. But I want to make sure that everyone in this state knows that I did the best job I could. I was objective, respectful, compassionate. And I want to leave that legacy. Thank you.
Thank you.
When I was in college, I joined a fraternity, Kappa Sigma, and one of the founding principles that I took away from that is when you are in leadership, to leave things better off than when you came there. And I have done that throughout my life. In everything that I have been a part of, I've always strived to leave it in a better position than when I took over. When I became the chairman of the Wake County Young Republicans, we had about 10 members. And my goal was to make it so when I left, there would be somebody in line to take over and that we would have more people. I was successful in doing that. When I left, we had almost 50 members, and one of my vice chairmen became the chair. That's what I'm going to do as the state auditor. I'm going to build our bench, not just in the state auditor's office, but for Republicans across the state. We need to get more young people qualified and ready to run. And I'm going to use this office to make that a reality.
Thank you, Charles.
I am very fortunate. I grew up, there's always been 4 generations of men in our household. I grew up with my father, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather. And currently, my father's still alive. I have a son, and I have 2 grandsons. So there's still 4 generations in our family. And watching my father and grandfather and great-grandfather work in the community, that's where I got my public service from. And so, simply stated, my legacy will be, and I don't want to brag, but I'll be the best state auditor that North Carolina has ever had. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Jeff, we're going to start with you. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the department?
Biggest challenge. Well, one of the biggest challenges that it faces right now, it's not credibility actually, it's resource requirements. We talk about having 200 people to do this work, it doesn't have enough. It's offshoring, sending to outside consulting firms and accounting firms to do this work. What we need to do is bring that resource and have it inside. One of the other big problem is we're not communicating and doing the detail work. What we're doing is these summary level annual comprehensive financial reports. It meets government accounting standards, but it doesn't get of our ability to really know where the dollars are being spent. And then we're not sharing it. So again, communication may be the single biggest issue facing us. Get to the details, share it with you all, and then we'll do the right things.
Thank you. Tony?
I think a major fault with the state auditor's office is there's not enough public relations work being done. As I've stated before, I admire State Treasurer Dale Falwell. He has made it his point during his tenure as treasurer to run all over this state and speak to every group he can about where your tax dollars are being spent. As auditor, that's what I want to do. I want to come to your town, your GOP meetings, and your Rotary clubs, and speak at every meeting I can, both sides, both parties, and to communicate to you all the waste, the fraud, the corruption that I can find, so that you can call your elected representatives from the state level all the way down to the municipality you live in and say, hey, I'm proud that we're doing this.
We're at time.
But we need to make some serious changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not a politician, but I'll give you a political answer. This one, I got two for you, not one, sorry. One, I mentioned the pipeline. Kids aren't going into accounting or auditing. We need to make sure we shore that up for the future. All the accounting firms are also panicking as well. But one I haven't mentioned yet, but have kind of touched on, is trust. People don't trust each other in politics anymore. We're not listening to each other. We're not sitting down and getting to know each other. I want to bring back trust, and I want Republicans and Democrats and Libertarians and Green Party and no labels, etc., to all trust that the results I'm giving and the reports I'm putting out were done objectively, independently, with the best audit process. I really want to bring back trust. That's one reason I felt God calling me into public service, is to bring that back. So that's my main one.
Thank you.
First will be the backlog of the decades of entities and groups that have not been audited. But secondly is making audits that are actually useful, that the end user can understand. Having been across the state and talking with mayors and town councils about their annual audit requirements, many of them have told me they get these 100, 200-page reports that they only look at one thing, and that is fund balance. Well, if we're just doing all this to go through the motions, maybe we should re-examine, why are we doing this? I mean, right now, most people go online, they can read the audit reports, but what are you actually getting from it? These audits should be something that are productive, that you can go to an agency or an organization and give them real results that you can make a change with. That's going to be the biggest hurdle in kind of changing that mindset from what they have been doing to what we need to be doing.
Thank you, Charles. Jim?
Well, I think that there are two problems with the state auditor's office. Either they have an administration problem or they have a lack of personnel problem. And I think, Jeff, maybe you're right. I think there needs to be more auditors, especially Republican auditors. So I won't go in there and have everyone interview for their jobs on the first day, because I don't want to be down in the office where I can't perform the audits. So I will be seeking to bring more auditors in, and we'll audit all the agencies that have not been audited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm hoping that the biggest challenge is first to be able to work with a Republican governor to clean up the Cooper-Stein mess. That's job one. Job two, a strategic plan to take a look at how financial audits are conducted across the state of North Carolina so that that information is easily accessible and easily attainable and understood by everyday North Carolinians. Second, take a look at not only the financial portion of audits, but culturally in that office, how that office takes a look at efficiencies and how departments and institutions across the state of North Carolina are run. We can do more than just look at the money. We can take a look at how things are done and, in effect, can affect and inform policy across the state of North Carolina. Those will be the biggest challenges, and I'm ready to take them on.
Thank you, Dave. So we are at our last question, and we're going to circle back. So Tony, you can be the one to start us out. The question is, are there particular agencies that you feel need to be audited?
Boy, if I knew I was going to be asked that, I'd have held my answer from the other question. As stated, education will be a top priority. Election integrity. I like what Dingy says. We need to audit the Board of Elections. I hate to be a copycat. The DOT, we need to make, there's still room for improvement in that agency. And whatever the state auditor can do to improve health care spending. We've all seen Dale Falwell hold up the book where a hospital sent him a completely blanked out pages when he requested information on how much they charge. As far as the authority of that office goes, we need to check into health care spending and I intend to make recommendations to our state senators and representatives on how that can be improved.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So like I mentioned, I'm not committing. I don't want to be seen as combatant right off the bat. But I'll touch a little on the election integrity, the Board of Elections. I'm not interested in, I wouldn't be interested in rehashing old elections. My goal, as I've said, is to be forward-looking. So any audit I do, and this also goes back to the trust I was talking about, it needs to make sure that people have trust in the elections again. This isn't going to be a partisan job, really. I just want people to trust the elections. And so going in with an agenda in mind that will help bring back the trust and not just seem like I'm, mad about prior elections, which I am, but that's separate than others. So, yeah, I'm not committing to auditing it, but that's kind of how I would go about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if y'all haven't figured out yet, the Board of Elections, #1 on the list, because you, the people, have told me that's what you want. And that's how this office is going to be run. When the people of North Carolina say, Charles, we want you to look at this, that's what we're going to look at. Board of Elections, county school boards, the DOT, the North Carolina Education Lottery. I have gone all over the state, and I see billboards on every highway, and I hear radio ads every day for the Education Lottery. I thought that money was supposed to go to children and to teachers. Where is it going? You, the people, are going to tell me what you want, and I'm going to make it easy. Like I had said before, that TIPS hotline is going to be public. So when I'm the state auditor, you're going to know what I'm doing with the information you provide me.
Thank you.
Well, I don't necessarily like to name agencies that I'm going to audit because there's a thing in auditing called targeting. Agencies have rights, and just like people have rights, and like corporations have rights, I don't want to get caught up in a situation where I'm targeting an agency and they get an attorney and then I'm spending more of your tax dollars trying to do my job auditing an agency. But there are a number of agencies that need auditing. Me and Donald Trump are the only two people that I know that probably have experienced election fraud. I experienced it right in Guilford County on my third bid for re-election for the city council. So certainly I have questions about the Board of Elections, but I have questions about any agency that has major cost overruns. So I'll audit every agency.
Thank you, Jim.
You'll hear a lot of the same state agencies on the list from the candidates up here because we've heard that from the voters as we've crossed the state of North Carolina. But I'll drill down on a couple. One, public schools. Our public school system receives the lion's share of the North Carolina budget. Our students are leaving school not prepared. They need to be career ready. They need to be able to read. They need to be able to do simple math. With the amount of money that taxpayers are spending in our public schools, we should expect more. And as state auditor, I'm going to demand more by taking a look at it and letting you know exactly how that money is spent. Additionally, our municipalities get a tremendous amount of money, and once that money leaves the General Assembly, local city councils spend it however they want. They need to be reined in, and I intend to take a look at that as the state auditor to give you confidence that that money is being spent appropriately.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not going to read this to you. There's the list in sequential order. I've got it on my social media. It's all 40 departments. We've already been sequencing and dealing with it. So what have I done my entire professional career in public life or in work? Help people solve problems. Now, the only reason I'm going to be able to share this with you is because I'm old compared to everyone else up here on the stage. But it's about relationships and trust. So take Mark Robinson, take Del Falwell, and take Bill Graham as an example. All three call me wanting my help and support in their elections. Big issue with the $2.5 billion school board bond in Mecklenburg County. County manager, city manager, and electeds all call me and want to know how to address this. It's what I do for a living. I'm trusted by these folks. All these people, I have all their cell phones. The entire congressional delegation, I interact with them regularly. These are people that have to engage with us in the Office of State Auditor. It's people we have to have relationships in all these agencies and departments, and you've got to be trusted that they will work with you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so that is all the questions. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I know that this is awesome for everybody to be able to hear from all of you. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we're going to have, I believe it is the labor commissioner coming next. So thank you. Okay, so it is time for the insurance commissioners. I think we have Robert Brawley and Andrew Marcus here. That's right. Okay, so Mike Causey and Robert Brawley. So Andrew Marcus emailed and can't be here. Okay, so I think you guys kind of know how this is going to go. There's only two of you, so we'll just swap back and forth with first question. But you also can start out with a 90-second introduction of yourself. So let me make sure I get your names right. Mike, if you'd like to start.
Thank you. I'm Mike Causey, your insurance commissioner. I'm the 11th insurance commissioner since 1899, but the first Republican insurance commissioner that you all elected in 2016 and re-elected in 2020. And I would appreciate the opportunity to serve you for another 4 years. And I say we're here to help. A lot of you have called me over the past few years needing help. I say I know nobody in this room's ever had issues with insurance claims or getting claims paid, but when you have a problem, you call me, call the Department of Insurance, and we get help. We helped about 200,000 people last year. So don't fight it yourself. Give us a call. I'm born and raised in Guilford County. I grew up on a dirt road produce farm where I still live today. And I need your help on this re-election. I've got some cards out there. Take some of those with you, pass them out. I'm third on the ballot, so I've got two opponents, and I tell people for a good cause, for a better cause, and for the best cause, vote Causey. Mike Causey, Insurance Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good evening. My name is Robert Brawley. I'm from Mooresville, North Carolina. I married to my high school sweetheart. Went to college at NC State. From there, I went into the North Carolina National Guard, flying helicopters for 24 years, retired as a commander. I've been an insurance agent ever since 1976. I'm the only one that's had an insurance license longer than 4 years. I put 5 kids through college selling insurance. I served 20 years in the North Carolina House of Representatives, always on the insurance committee. 1 year I was president of the National Republican Legislators Association. Several people talked about how they got elected. When I was first elected in Iredell County was 65% Democrat. I won by 56 votes. 8 years later, Iredell County was still 61% Democrat. Papers in Raleigh referred to me as a redneck, right-wing, radical, Bible-thumping wacko, and I got 75% of the vote. The Democrats haven't put up a candidate for the North Carolina House since then in Iredell County. I want to get involved in insurance and make insurance great again in North Carolina. If you elect me, I will do like my career says. I told you I graduated from NC State, champion wrestler, cheerleader, retired military. As your insurance commissioner, we'll take names, kick butt, and cheer about it on these rates. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Mike, we'll start with you. What's your vision for the office?
Well, thank you. My vision's what it was when I got elected in 2016. Number one, to cut the red tape and make the department more efficient. We have done that. When I took office in 2017, January 1st, I was sworn in a minute after midnight at a fire department at the Guilford-Randolph County line to show my support for the volunteer fire departments. And since I've been in this job, 80% of the fire departments in this state that we inspect have improved their ISO class rating. Every fire department in Forsyth County has improved or lowered their ISO class score. I'm here to help consumers, help seniors. We help consumers every day. And I push back hard with the insurance companies every day to hold our insurance rates as low as we can. They're pushing me tough right now, and I'm representing you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The department is by law to regulate the business of insurance in North Carolina, maintain fair pricing for insurance products, prevent unfair practices, and ensure availability of insurance coverage. And that's what I intend to do as insurance commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Robert, we're going to start with you. What do you bring to the table in terms of experience to make you the most effective person for this job? You want me to repeat? What do you bring to the table in terms of experience to make you the most effective person for this job?
As I said, I've been an insurance agent since 1976. I served on the insurance committee in the North Carolina General Assembly. I've received numerous awards in the insurance industry. I've even been to Washington, D.C. while I was in the legislature as a consultant on the insurance. In particular, we kept you from getting Obamacare for several years, but once I left the General Assembly, you got it. And that's my background in insurance.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm a lifelong farmer, still live on the same farm where I grew up, in the same house that my great-grandfather, grandfather, and dad lived in. And I went to the public schools, got a degree in civil engineering, worked in the construction industry, went back to school at UNC Charlotte, and was recruited by Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. So I've got my opponent beat. I first was licensed in insurance back in 1975. I've got years experience in the insurance business, and I have a track record over my past 8 years at the department of fighting insurance fraud, rooting out fraud and corruption, and doing everything I can. I've always said no to every rate increase that's come before me. I only have two choices, say yes or no by state law, and I've always said no, and I'll continue to fight for you if you reelect me.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to jump back to you. Why do you feel that it's important for a Republican to hold this office, and what are some principles of the party that you feel are particularly relevant to the office you're seeking or currently hold?
That was just for...
This is for you.
Oh, for me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, one more time.
Okay. So what do you feel, or why do you feel that it's important for a Republican to hold this office? And what are some principles of the party that you feel are particularly relevant to the office you're seeking or currently hold?
Well, as I said, since 1899, I'm the 11th insurance commissioner in the state of North Carolina, the first ever Republican, and we make sure that we focus on the Republican principle of personal responsibility is probably the biggest thing for me, and holding folks accountable, holding the agents and the companies accountable. We have sworn law enforcement officers that cover this state. When I took this job, we only had 20 sworn law enforcement officers. Half the counties weren't even being looked at for insurance fraud. I tripled the law enforcement capacity. We have 60 sworn agents. Last year we made over 505 arrests for insurance fraud and brought in record dollars for the consumer. So we run it as a nonpartisan but conservative principles.
We are
is
at
what I
time.
go by every day.
Thank you.
One of the most important things that needs to come out of this election is that we elect candidates that want to go back to being one nation under God. I think it's important that we elect Republican candidates that can and do believe in one nation under God. That way you'll have a team working together for common values, common morals, a common belief where a society pulls together to accomplish things. And as Republicans, you've seen some of the candidates. I think we've got a great slate of candidates. It's an excellent chance to do just that. Elect Republicans and get us back to being one nation under God. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Robert, we're going to start with you. Going to keep you on your toes there. So, how do you balance keeping a variety of insurers in the North Carolina market and keeping rates as low as possible?
In 1977, we set up a rate bureau which worked until 2018. And the rate bureau is made up of insurance companies who propose a rate that has to be approved by the commissioner. And they couldn't exceed that rate. Well, that worked because the insurance companies had input into it. And the public had a chance to have input. And the commissioner made the decision controlling the rates. Since 2018, according to this National Association of Insurance Commissioners, North Carolina has gone from 4th lowest rates in the nation to 19th lowest rates in the nation. We jumped over 15 states, so we can't blame it on COVID or inflation. 15 states we jumped over because of a change in the law in 2018 called consent to rate. Under consent to rate, according to the Rate Bureau yesterday, 89% of the people in North Carolina are paying more than the Rate Bureau rates.
Thank you.
Would you repeat the question?
Of course. So, how do you balance keeping a variety of insurers in the North Carolina market and keeping rates as low as possible?
That's a great question. And what Robert was talking about, the legislature passed that consent to rate back in 2018 in order to keep insurance companies from pulling out of North Carolina, leaving the state like they have in Florida, California, and some of these other states. I will refute the comments about where we stand. Forbes Advisory just came out with an article 2 or 3 weeks ago. You can look it up. They did a study in 2023 of all 50 states, and for automobile insurance in the state of North Carolina, we were the 5th lowest in the United States for average automobile insurance rates. Only 4 states beat us. That was Idaho, Maine, Vermont, and Ohio. So we're one of the lowest in the Southeast when it comes to homeowners. I'm fighting with the Rate Bureau right now. I can't speak about it tonight, but next week I hope to make an announcement. Give your public comments on that too. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm keeping you on your toes. It's you now, Mike. Okay, so tell us how you plan to support free market principles while also protecting consumer interests.
Thank you, and that's a great question because before I got this job, I said, we need to do away with the Rate Bureau. We need to do away with the reinsurance facilities, have a totally free market system. Well, I've changed my mind since learning how insurance works in North Carolina, but we have worked hard to give insurance companies more free market principles, working with the legislature to allow insurance companies to offer different types of discounts. But as Robert said, the Rate Bureau was created by the legislature in 1977. The Rate Bureau represents the insurance companies, and when they want to raise your rates, they have to go do a rate filing. And I represent you, the policyholder.
Thank you.
It's worked well for North Carolina. Thanks.
Thank you.
That balance is really going to be a tough job, but it can be done. It was done from 1977 again until 2018 when the law was changed with the support of the Department of Insurance. The companies set the rate, so they had input. They set the maximum rate, and then they had to explain why they exceeded that rate. Since, again, going back to the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, for the last 10 years, the average insurance profit across the nation was 3.6%. North Carolina, the average insurance company profit is over 7%. So there is some ways we can adjust the rate. They're not going to leave us to go to another state where they get less than 7% profits. So there needs to be some negotiation and work done there. And as I said, I intend to stand up, take names, kick butt, and share about it.
Thank you. Okay, so Robert, should the North Carolina Insurance Commissioner also be the state fire marshal? Why or why not?
Having served 20 years in the General Assembly and seen the growth in this state, I think that fire departments should be in their own department away from the Department of Insurance. The insurance commissioner, for one thing, the insurance commissioner spends a lot of time running around the state handing out checks when they ought to be managing insurance and controlling rates in the state. And the fire marshal, the fire department has some very competent people in it. They know how to run the department. They take care of their own business, and the insurance commissioner can take care of the business of managing insurance in this state and balancing free enterprise against consumer protection.
Thank you.
Well, I strongly disagree with that. Since the department started in 1899, fire insurance issues have been intertwined with the Department of Insurance, and since about 1940, the elected insurance commissioner has always served as the state fire marshal. It's worked very well. It's never worked better than it has the past 8 years. As I said, 80% of the fire departments that we inspect have improved their ISO or lowered their score. No fire department was consulted on that legislation. The Department of Insurance was not consulted. It was a handful of senators that thought it was a good idea. We did a statewide survey with the volunteer fire departments, and about 97% of the firefighters and fire chiefs in this state did not want it separated. Under current law, effective January 1st, we have to fund it through the Department of Insurance, but I have zero say-so on their budget, who they hire, who they fire, and that's not good for the people.
Thank you. Okay, so starting with you, Mike. This is the final question, okay. And it's a mouthful, so
okay.
I might have to read it twice. There have been some fairly high-profile disagreements between the insurance commissioner and the General Assembly last year, culminating in the budget stripping the title of fire marshal from the insurance commissioner and creating an independent fire marshal office. How do you plan to work cooperatively with the General Assembly if elected or reelected?
Well, this goes back to my opposition with that Blue Cross bill. There was a bill in the House, Blue Cross House Bill 346. I didn't like it then, I don't like it now, and that bill said that Blue Cross, the insurance company, the largest health insurer in this state, could take any amount of money they want out of that insurance company, move it out with no oversight, no regulation, do what they want to with it, and put it in corporations that they create. And if this had been studied like it should, I don't believe many people in this state would go along with that. Senate Bill 363, to take the title of State Fire Marshal away from me, was introduced in March, right at the same time I opposed that. I have a good working relationship with the General Assembly. I'll continue to work with them, but I am going to work hard to try to see that they fix this problem with the state fire marshal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Together We Can has always been my approach to working in the political arena. As I said, I was elected 75% in a county that was 61% Democrat. In the General Assembly, I was president of the National Republican Legislators Association 1 year. I have a track record of working with people. In the National Guard, I was known across North Carolina because we got the job done by working together. In the General Assembly, I would fully intend on, by the way, the General Assembly looks to the insurance commissioner for their insurance legislation because that's supposed to be the most knowledgeable person of what's going on in the insurance business in North Carolina. And by working together, we will get the job done and clean up some of the problems that we do have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the questions for our insurance commissioner. So I want to thank you guys for coming here today. Yeah, thank you. And we'll take another 5-minute recess before I think it's Commissioner of Labor is next. Okay, everyone, we are going to conclude with the Labor Commissioner. We have one candidate. That's it. Luke Farley. John Hardister was supposed to be here, but he had a family emergency, so he was not able to come. But I'm going to wait about 2 seconds here. We're going to use the same format. We'll do a 90-second introduction, and then I've got 7 questions here, around a minute per answer. And, okay, so if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey, y'all, I'm Luke Farley. I'm your conservative candidate for North Carolina Labor Commissioner, and, y'all been sitting listening to a lot of political speeches, so let's have a little bit of fun. Let's play a quick game. So I have with me tonight one of my limited edition mega hats. All right? It's not a MAGA hat, it's a mega hat. Make elevators great again. And so I'm going to give one of these away. And so here's a question for you. Well, that usually earns it. We can talk after. I can get you one. So here's a question. How hot do you think Joe Biden thinks is too hot to work outside? Oh my, I got to go order a whole nother box of these now. All right, well then I think I'm just going to have to toss it to my fan section, and whoever gets it, gets it. 76 degrees is the correct answer, but that's Joe Biden for you. So y'all ready? All right. I have 17 seconds. So I'm Luke Farley. I'm your conservative candidate for North Carolina Labor Commissioner, and I look forward to answering the questions. So.
Thank you. Okay, so what's your vision for the office?
So my vision for this office is that it would stand up for workers and small businesses, right? That we would protect our workers without bankrupting businesses in the process. I want the North Carolina Labor Department to be North Carolina's secret weapon for economic development. And what I mean by that is, I think if this department is well run, if our labor and employment laws are enforced in a fair and even-handed way, it'll attract businesses to North Carolina. Because when a business is looking to move to a place or expand its operations, it wants to know a couple of things. One of which is, what's the regulatory climate? Are the regulations enforced in a fair way, or are they enforced in a punitive way that treats businesses as enemies? I can tell you that's the way Democrats would do it, right? They'd come to this office with a political agenda. I'm not coming to this office with a political agenda. I'm coming to this office to use it to build prosperity in North Carolina. So that's my conservative vision. Protect our workers without bankrupting businesses in the process.
Thank you. What do you bring to the table in terms of experience to make you the most effective person for the job?
So I've been in the private practice of law the last 13 years, defending small businesses who get safety citations issued by the North Carolina Labor Department. And there's really no better experience to do this job than working with the regulations that you're going to have to enforce. And I have seen up close the effect of those regulations on businesses. I've seen what it does to business when they get overregulated, how it drives them out of business sometimes. I've been on job sites where people have been killed tragically because safety regulations weren't followed. I've also sat down with small business owners who are going to get put out of business by an unfair safety citation. So I know both sides. I know how high the stakes can be on both sides. And that's the kind of experience we need here. This is a technical regulatory job running a regulatory agency. And there's no better experience than having worked on the laws that you'll be enforcing.